Hello and thanks for joining us. This is RxTI Talks and I'm Adam Chassie. We're going to be talking for the next few minutes to Doug Peddicord, the Executive Director of ACRO, the Association of Clinical Research Organizations. We're going to be discussing public perceptions of clinical research, the legislative landscape, and more.
So ACRO is the Association of Clinical Research Organizations. We are the trade association for large, global, full-service CROs. The 8 members of ACRO account for something between 50 and 60% of CRO industry revenues. So I think the Dateline episode was unfortunate. And the reason it was unfortunate was because it presented an image of the research enterprise that's not accurate. It's certainly possible, as Dateline did, to find the rare bad actor in the system that we all work in. But in fact, the vast majority of IRBs and CROs and research sites and investigators are ethical and highly productive in the work that they do. They indeed care about patients more than anything else. That's why they're engaged in the activities they are in. I don't think the episode changed public perception, but I think the public is not nearly as aware of the research enterprise as it should be. And I think it falls upon all of us, upon investigators and sites, upon CROs, and certainly upon sponsors, to educate the public about what's involved in getting to the new drugs and the new treatments that everybody wants. We've been active in part because CROs, as they often do, on Sunshine sit in the middle between sponsors and investigators. The law actually applies to sponsors. It applies to manufacturers who must report payments that they make to physicians and teaching hospitals. We think the law was drafted in a simplified way that doesn't much reflect reality in terms of the actual flow of dollars to support the research enterprise. In any case, CROs, as I say, are often in the middle, and they are going to be in a position where sponsors, applicable manufacturers, will want to the penny documentation of how dollars flow, and investigators are going to in fact want that reports of total payments made to them are accurate. We'll be in the middle, which is why we've been in the middle of the debate around both the law and the implementing regulation. Well, there's lots of things that I think sites need to do on these kinds of legislative and public policy issues. In many ways, we at ACRO certainly think of sites and investigators as the keys to the research enterprise. On the other hand, sites have been largely unrepresented in most of the public policy debates that sometimes end up with things like Sunshine. So the thing that very much impacts on investigators, Sunshine, investigators have essentially had little to no voice in the deliberations that led to that. I think one of the things that needs to happen around Sunshine, and probably some other things I'll talk about, is that I think the voice of investigators actually needs to be heard much more. Beyond Sunshine, Adam, it's important for sites to be involved in the kinds of conversations that are going to impact the way they get to practice. For instance, there are a lot of quality initiatives today. So manufacturers, sponsors, CROs, consulting companies of all kinds are aiming to develop metrics for quality at the site level, right? What can and should a high-functioning site be able to do? The problem, as I see it right now, is that those conversations, the initiatives, the collaborations that are going on aiming at developing these quality metrics, investigators are barely represented in those. Right now, there are lots of initiatives where sponsors and CROs are coming together to talk about site quality. Sites aren't there. And I think whatever results from those conversations needs to be informed by the perspective of sites. Sites know a lot about quality, and in fact, it's the quality of the site, of the conduct of the research that everybody's interested in. The folks that are closest to the ground have a lot to say about that, and I think should be in that conversation.
RxTI Talks is brought to you by the Rx Trials Institute. Thank you for watching. Join us for more episodes, each highlighting some of clinical research's most innovative companies and individuals. Looking for more great thinking? Join the conversation at the Site Solutions Summit this October at the PGA National Resort in Palm Beach Gardens. Proudly hosted by the Rx Trials Institute, this year's summit brings together more sites, sponsors, and CROs than ever before. Visit www.sitesolutionssummit.com and register today before the seats sell out.